The Reedy, Set, Grow podcast with Trish Reedy.
Welcome to Reedy, Set, Grow, the podcast that inspires you to grow into the person you're meant to be. I'm your host, Trish Reedy. I'm a local mortgage lender here in town in Kansas City, and I love our community so much. We've got great people here. So I am excited to introduce you to another one of our inspirational Kansas Cityans. Not by birth, but he's been here long enough now. He's one of us. This is Chad Kagy.
Thanks for having me, Trish. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. So Chad has won, I can't even count, how many gold medals with the X Games?
I've got 4 gold medals and 15 medals total over about 20 years.
Wow. And you didn't even wear any bling over here. Come on.
I have them all hidden. All my medals are hidden right now. And we're going to change that eventually.
I imagine your kids would get in and play with them. That's what mine would do.
So my kids just got done with the soccer season, and they passed out medals at different games. And when my son didn't get one, I didn't get a medal. He's crying his eyes out. And I was like, man, you can have one of my medals. I've got some extras. You can wear it. And we got home. My daughter goes, hey, can I have that shiny one, the gold one? I was like, yeah, that one's sharp. But yes, you can wear it. Go ahead. So the kids finally had the medals out running around like it was dress up.
That's so fun, though.
Funny.
I mean, that's got to be a pretty cool moment for you to be like, I earned these. Yes, they're really important and special to me, but so are my kids. And yeah, they can play with them.
It kept my son from crying and turned into dress up, which when I earned them, that's not exactly how I envisioned them.
Right.
But it's so much better because that put smiles on somebody else's face.
Yes.
And that works.
Yeah. So tell us about this 20 plus year career that earned you so many medals.
The quick version, I learned how to ride a bike when I was 4. The only reason I ever stopped riding for any duration of time was for injuries. I started racing a bike when I was 8 years old. When I was about 11 or 12, I started jumping and realizing that it was a ton of fun being in the air. When I was 17, I turned pro, and it was a bit of an accident. Opportunity fell in my lap.
Awesome.
I took that opportunity, ran with it, instantly started traveling the world, and 20 years later, I've got a closet with a Tupperware bin full of medals, and that was my career, my family, my friends. Everything has come from that whole cycling adventure.
Yeah, even your wife.
That's right.
That's
she
amazing.
was an employee of the tour we had, and we were friends for a long time. And when she quit, parted ways with the tour, and I kept on going. We stayed friends, and our friendship.
And then you became more than friends.
Awesome.
And then she's from Kansas City. So when your career ended, which, I mean, transition, pivoted, probably is a better way to put it, right? You moved here.
Well, I retired from competition.
Retired, that's a good way to say it.
So we use retired from competition due to injury, forced into it. So when you fall 30 feet to flat ground and shatter your feet, eventually you need to think about
shatter your feet.
Yeah, my heels didn't appreciate landing on flat ground from that high.
I mean, 30 feet is a lot. Like a basketball goal is 10 feet.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine falling from there.
I don't recommend imagining it or trying it out to figure it out.
Oh my gosh.
It didn't go well. And when I got out of my wheelchair, I had 3 months in a wheelchair, determined to get back to walking, playing, running, riding a bike, and realized the risk versus reward was starting to shift for me as I was looking at my kids helping push me around in a wheelchair. And when we started deciding where we wanted to live next, we picked a handful of cities that were good for sports. My wife's sports marketing major. And we were looking at some of the cities all of our friends were around the country, and realized when we came to visit her family in Kansas City, we viewed the city not as a place to visit. We then viewed it as an opportunity, and we drove around thinking, what if we lived here?
Yeah.
And it changed our mentality and went, Kansas City's awesome for this. School district, the amount of businesses that are based here. And I always call this place the smallest big city you've ever seen.
That is the truth.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
And everybody supports Kansas City people.
Yeah. That is really cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I've traveled around the world and I've never experienced anything like this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. We've got great people here. So we are glad that you and your wife are here now.
I joined the crew. She wrote me in. Here we go.
So tell me about some of these places that you've traveled.
My favorite city is Queenstown, New Zealand.
Ooh,
So
that's a bucket list place for sure.
going down to the South Island, I was lucky enough to have an event on the southern tip of the North Island. My friend and I took our prize money, rented a motorhome, and drove around the entire South Island for about 2 weeks. And he was sponsored by one of the energy drink companies that had a house down there.
So you never
in
slept?
Queenstown. So we went down and just hung out and tried not to sleep too much to waste all the time.
Yeah, right?
And then just traveling around the world and other places. Prague is such an amazing city full of history. Going to places like Amsterdam just because it's such a wild architectural city.
Yeah.
I know everybody else likes the coffee shops. We were cruising around the city and just riding our bikes in such a different world.
Right.
It felt like we were, well, clearly you're in a foreign land, but it just felt so different, like a different time. Cobblestone streets, and it felt like we went back in time.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cruising around places in Germany. Essentially, my education from traveling and all these amazing cities, Tokyo, and going to all these different cities in Europe, essentially taught me that when I learned in high school what the cities were like around the world, they were completely wrong.
Yeah. Right.
And then you go experience it yourself, and it's fabulous.
Right. Now, you did spend a little time in the Middle East, if I remember right.
I have.
Tell us about what you were doing there.
I would not say those are my number one top of my list revisiting cities.
Sure.
Some of them are very spectacular for different reasons.
But you did some pretty cool stuff there.
I got involved in Bikes Over Baghdad. We started a tour to go support the troops.
Very cool.
And it's taking what we spent our entire lives passionate about, riding bikes, competing, which is to a certain extent a very selfish endeavor. It's a solo sport. You don't have the team to lean on. But once you get to a certain point, you can then share your passion with others.
Yeah.
And we were able to go overseas and bring this freestyle demonstration. We'd show up on military bases to support the troops, spend an entire day building ramps. And we would build a ramp over a tank, over a Humvee, whatever we could find on the base to use that the troops see on a daily basis, and change up their Groundhog Day just with this show, and had such inspirational responses where I had one of the troops, she stood in line for 3 hours, next to the line for 3 hours waiting for us to finish, simply to tell us at the end and shake all of our hand, thank you for reminding me about freedom, America, and allowing me to forget that I was in this horrible desert for the last 9 months.
Wow.
Thank you. And after hearing that, we all said, okay, we're signing on. We're permanent as long as we can come back. And we did it for 9 years.
Wow.
So I've gone over, I believe it's 12 or 13 times.
Wow. What a cool way to use your talents and the skills that you spent so long honing to serve other people. Who would know? Who would think that riding a bike would help you to take care of people?
It felt spectacular doing it.
Yeah.
Being able to give back in a way like that is so unique, because you know you're one in a very small number of people that get any opportunity to go overseas and support the troops, but then to go over and actually perform for them in such a unique way.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what I was going to do anyway at home at the time in Pennsylvania, training, practicing, but I can come over here and do the same tricks, or sometimes not the gnarliest tricks ever because I didn't have my foam pit and everything else.
Yeah.
And the reaction that you get is even better than when you're at X Games.
Yeah.
The enthusiasm you get from somebody watching a 2-hour show while the sun has gone down and the temperature dropped to 105 degrees.
Just a balmy 105.
Just down to 105 from 130. Wow. And you get to be in this situation that if you looked at it on paper, looks kind of miserable. Like, okay, it's going to be this temperature. It's going to be nothing but gravel. It's going to be sand. It's going to be, you're going to have to build a bike, then build ramps. And you're like, wow, this sounds like a lot of weird work and sweating. But if you can shift your mindset and your perspective to look at how much positive you get to do with it,
Yeah.
all that stuff that's not my memory. The hard stuff, it's all the cool interactions with everybody and what you get back from them as you're giving. I mean, we gave away shirts, we gave away bikes, skateboards, everything. On one base, we did the show, and the base commander looked around and saw us give away bikes and skateboards and goes, okay, so my guys are now inspired to do what you just did.
I imagine he didn't like that.
I need you guys to get rid of the ramps. Otherwise, they're going to ride them and get hurt in their government property. So we drove a tank over our ramps.
Oh, not really usable anymore.
No, but that was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Serving those that serve our country. I mean, that's one of my favorite things when I can do a VA home loan and really take care of a veteran. It feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good. Yeah. So
because those are the people who allow us to choose what we want to do for a living.
Absolutely.
For a very long time, I got to choose to ride a small bike as my job. Go to some other countries, you don't even have that opportunity.
Right.
Those troops are the reason why we get to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So any way I can thank them, it comes across as best as I can.
Yeah.
And thank them in person.
Yeah, man. So I know your kids are doing some gymnastics. I've seen you at the gymnastics at the gym, I guess, when my kids have been there. Would you encourage your kids to get into the sport?
Yes, for some reasons, and no for the others. The long list of injuries, no.
I mean, when you Google you find all the scary things that a mom would never want to see her child involved with.
Unfortunately, the search engines are picking up the most popular things, which are the injuries.
The gnarly, scary crash injuries.
Yeah, so the first thing that pops up is typically me falling 25 feet to break my femur. Mm-hmm. That's not my favorite video, but it is one of them.
Yeah, that femur, that giant bone in your body. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's got a rod in it now. Mm-hmm. That's one of the extras. When it comes to my kids, I'm not even pushing either of them to really go for it. And my son is taking his hands off. He didn't watch me compete. He's watched X Games once when I was judging, and he was on the sidelines, like holding the railing, taking his hands off, doing tricks. And I didn't teach him that stuff. He's just doing it.
Yeah.
I go, okay, well, I'll support you if that's your choice. However, if you want to pick a different endeavor that doesn't involve gravity destroying your body, I'd be okay with that too. Yeah. But I'll support them in what they want to do.
Gravity's probably your biggest enemy.
I tell people that I'm allergic to gravity, and some people look at me and go, how are you allergic? I said, I just try to fight gravity and I lose.
Well, every time. Yeah. So you are kind of the bionic man, right? Tell us about the biodegradable parts, I guess.
Non-organic. So I have now experienced, as of 5 months ago with my latest surgery, I'm up to 22 orthopedic surgeries due to injuries. And that brought me to 32 pieces of metal with the 2 screws they put in my ankle. So
can you make it
fused
through
a
airport
portion.
security?
I can. I've had the alarm go off 2 times. Once was right after 9/11 in LAX flying. Ready for the second one? Kauffman Stadium going into a Royals game.
Okay.
The hand wand can do it if it's set sensitive. For the collarbone shattered, it's got a bunch of metal in it. And when I broke my neck and they fused that, the skin's really thin to the metal, so the hand wand picks it up. But the
broken
regular
neck,
X-ray
broken
doesn't.
collarbone, broken femur. Okay, so we don't really have any broken bones left on the bucket list, right? Anything that needs to be repaired?
I'm not trying to win that competition of how many bones I can break.
You might, anyways.
I'm trying to avoid those. It's just an occupational hazard.
Yeah.
Hey, how many bones have you broken? I don't know.
You can't count
Like,
anymore.
what do you mean? Well, eventually you go to the doctor and they don't do anything for the broken bones. So when you know that, the next time you break it, you don't pay the money to go to the doctor because it's not bad enough. Small fractures in your ribs, small broken toes, small things in your hand. I just tape them to another finger and keep going.
Man, That's the power of pushing through.
Sorry, moms that are out there with their kids watching this.
It's not recommended for children, right?
Most of those are because I was on tour. I don't have somebody on the bench taking my spot. Mm-hmm. And on those tours, I was a major part of the tour. So when I drop out of the tour, it screws up a lot of our performance.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how the mindset that you honed through this sport, through this long career, how you've utilized that now in your new career.
It took a long time to get that concept kind of understood. It was there, it was ingrained in my brain that obstacles, failing, setbacks, there's a ton of different ways to say what they are. I was able to view the big picture. I could see further into the future to see the greater good and the goals that I had not yet achieved. So I'm not setting a goal 2 steps in front of me. Yes, that's part of it. But when I go that, and then I go a couple steps further, and then I go a half mile down, and then how do I get there? And that hiccup that broke my foot, the hiccup that broke my leg or the hand or something went wrong, if that stopped me, take a side step and find a new path. Well, if I can translate that into my business model now, just because someone says no doesn't mean now I can't get to my goal. I just need to find a different way to get there.
Yeah.
And something I've always prided myself on is getting really creative with solutions. Okay, that's how that person does this. But if I follow in their footsteps, I'm always 1 step behind them. You can never get to
figure out how to jump over,
the goal.
Right? Yeah.
You can't get past them if you're always following in their footsteps. So how do you get to that mountaintop? It's shift to a different spot and take a different path to get to where you want to go if something's in your way.
Yeah.
You can translate that to anything in life.
Absolutely.
Absolutely anything. But having the fortitude, the mindset to get yourself over those that's in my way. How do I get there? If I can't move it, it's an immovable object. Okay, find a way around it.
Yeah.
Get somebody on your team to boost you over the top of it. You don't have to do it all yourself.
Yeah.
That was a big problem I had. I have to do everything on my own. I am going to
individual
succeed.
sport for so long.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
It is, but you have your team, your extended family, your really good friends become your family because you end up waking up in an emergency room in Melbourne, Australia, and go, where am I? And the people that are around you, that's your support team. That's who boosts you up. When you aren't 100%, lean on the other people that can help you get there.
Yeah.
And don't think it's a weakness. That's part of the circle of life.
Yeah. Getting help and accepting help can be a huge strength.
You're going to ask for help, but you're going to give it back.
Right.
And it leans onto part of what we just talked about, going overseas and being able to give back. That part of giving back for me, I was able to accomplish getting to best in the world. Now, what did I do with it?
Right.
Am I just going to keep patting myself on the back and go, yay, look what I did? Or do you now get to go give back in a way that makes it meaningful for you and for others?
Yeah.
Well, if you can continue doing that, now you can help other people.
Yeah.
And that satisfaction is something you can't replicate. It goes down to that whole thing where your parents say it when you're a kid and you don't believe them. No, giving gifts is so much more fun than receiving them.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, come on, just give me my dirt bike. Can I have my bike? Yeah. No.
Yeah. Man. Okay, well, I want to wrap up with 5 rapid fire questions. So let's see what quick answers you have for us.
I can dodge real quick.
Keep us inspired. What's your favorite quote?
So quotes in my life have shifted and changed based on where I am at the moment. And right now, what's resonated with me the last couple of years is a Marcus Aurelius quote that is, I'm going to mess it up slightly. Don't argue what a good man is, be a good man. So stop discussing it and arguing what it is. Just be one. Be what it is. Set yourself as an example.
That's great. So before the big competition, What song pumps you up?
I vary the songs on a very regular basis. One of my most common BMX riding songs was from a guy that's now become a friend. He's out in Vegas. His name is Big B, and he had a song called Hooligan, and he was rapping about half pipes and dirt bikes, and he's got it all. So it worked well for me. Lately, my kids dictate the music.
Yes.
However, I've got a pretty rad kid. His favorite song right now is Queen, and it's We Will Rock You.
Oh, yes.
So that's our bedtime mix. That's our going to school mix, and it starts with that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. What accomplishment are you most proud of?
The way that I have been able to give back to people with my gold medal, notoriety, fame, however you want to call it, I usually avoid that. I've been able to do a demonstration for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, set the ramp up in a spot that was accessible and visible for the kids that were in isolation up on the 3rd floor, and give away gifts to these little kids who are hanging on to life by a thread. And they were the ones to inspire us.
That's cool.
I was like, wow. And then the whole Bikes Over Baghdad thing. Being able to do those are much better accomplishments than another gold medal hanging on the wall.
That's cool. Okay, so we talked about how breaking bones is not on your bucket list. What are 2 things that you have yet to check off?
One of my bucket list items is traveling around the world to my favorite cities with my kids. And I need them to be a little bit older so they can appreciate it.
Not doing that quite yet. Not that you can travel in
and
a
get
pandemic.
the education. So that's one of them.
Okay.
And the other is something that's a long-term thing, and both of them are family-oriented. I've got a ton of different goals, but these 2 bucket items, this one is when my kids become young adults, I want them to be able to say, my dad's cool, my parents are awesome. And it's just being family-oriented.
I love it. I love it. Well, I don't think there's any teenagers that say that. So if you can accomplish it, you can teach us all.
Young adult. Once we get past the teenager point, maybe at the 18 to 20 mark, and they go, you know what, you guys were pretty cool.
All right, last question. I am most inspired by...
I am most inspired by seeing people overcome the obstacles, and it's not necessarily something that has to be grand on TV, somebody famous. I like seeing the small stories, the people that are connected to your lives, the local person that your friend of a friend got cancer and overcame that stuff. That level of determination and fight and grit is more inspirational than... Yeah, you can get inspiration from movies, but most of that stuff is scripted. I like seeing the real life grit.
Well, this is the podcast for you. Then you're going to want to tune into everything, because this is exactly the stories that we're telling, just like yours. Chad, I'm so glad that you joined us and shared a little bit of your story for everybody that's listening to Reedy, Set, Grow.
The Reedy, Set, Grow podcast with Trish Reedy.